requested with somebody, one of you guys, say, hey, can you make a video? What tools do you carry? So we could make sure that we have the correct tools with us. So, you know, we could work on our own sprinter. You know, and I'm thinking, hey, I'm gonna make another video. What parts do I carry? Because by this time, guys, I've learned what parts actually break, and I carry these parts with me. And there's some parts that I carry with me that I've never had to use, but I've seen other people have to use something. Look, I better have these parts with me as well. So guys, I know this is already like long. This is probably gonna be like an hour-long video. It's like 41 minutes and 30 seconds right now, but like this particular video, I know I'm not going off topic or anything. I'm just talking about kind of like how I went from point A to point B, and this is pretty much you know, you could consider like an audiobook, even though it's a video book technically. But this is the information I'm sharing with you guys because you know, because you might feel bad right now. You might be in a place in your life where you're thinking, look, there's not enough loads. This van is not mine. I need to buy me something. What can I do? How can I do it? You know, and will it actually get better? Is expedited right for me? You know, like I think telling my story, you'll actually begin to realize, maybe you're gonna say, hey, it's not so bad. Maybe I could stick with it. It's gonna get better. You know, of course, if you're gonna do it the wrong way and you're gonna work for really cheap, then yeah, even in this good economy, yeah, there's still slow freight. But you know, if you're gonna do work for cheap, you're just not gonna make any money, and at the end of, you know, a year, maybe less, you're gonna end up being in a position where you're struggling, or maybe you're quitting, and you're probably gonna quit Expedite because your van has broke down. You don't have no money to fix your van. You're gonna park it, and you're not gonna be able to, I guess, continue. You're gonna maybe work for a driver. I mean, for an owner operator, as a driver. Maybe you're gonna work on a truck. I don't know, you know. But to me, it was tough. I felt like quitting and going to work on a truck and stuff, because people would always tell me quitting. And guys, I used to tell, like, oh, I'm gonna buy my own house. Oh, I'm gonna buy my own house. You know how many people like make fun of you, like, oh, first buy a house, then talk about you're gonna get a house. You know, they would like, they think it's impossible. And then guess what? When my son was born, and I'm not gonna mention names, but this is certain like relatives and stuff, they're like, oh, now you get a baby, you're not going to be able to get a house now. And they're like, they laugh at you because they're thinking, hey, they know baby diapers, baby expenses, it's expensive. You know, and I'm not even complaining. Do you ever hear me complaining that it's expensive? Of course it's expensive. I have like 2 kids, and it is expensive to do all this stuff, but guys, I don't complain, because in my mindset, I'm thinking, look, if I can't afford it, what can I do to afford it? Maybe I should work longer. Maybe I should try to like try these other businesses on the side. Maybe it's gonna work out, you know. And I do like a lot of extensive research, and I try these various things, you know, to try to go on and improve myself. So now, getting back to my story, guys, you know, I started working, you know, with a new engine. My breakdowns became less. I started, of course, saving up money and reading audiobooks. And this is kind of like where I left off, audiobooks. And in audiobooks, I started reading particular audiobooks by Robert Kiyosaki, by Donald Trump, and then a bunch of other real estate, kind of like real estate investing with zero down, you know, buying real estate with like no money down, you know, all this kind of like no money down real estate, and buy real estate, sell real estate, hold real estate, you know, all these different books like Real Estate Bible, and I even read books from real estate, I mean, anything from real estate investors to actual realtors, you know, that's actually going, you know, show you like houses and stuff, like real estate brokers and stuff, and how to become a real, you know, like a realtor, millionaire, you know, that kind of thing. So guys, especially I think reading, Robert Kiyosaki book, like, you know, like one of the books I was reading, because I bought all his books. And he was talking about how he first, man, they were struggling. Like Robert Kiyosaki was struggling, guys. He lived in his car. I mean, if you kind of think about it, guys, we are pretty much living in a Sprinter van. Yeah, I mean, we might have an apartment, we might have a small home like I have it. But guys, Robert Kiyosaki, before he became a millionaire, he was living in his car with his wife. And then some friends let him like live in a basement. He had, I think, like he had this like brown Toyota, and he was like an ugly car or whatever. And you listen to those guys, and you're like thinking, well, what did they do to try to get financially savvy, you know, to try to make it in life? Guys, that's what it takes a lot of times. It's like, I think the biggest thing, it's like not only thinking, it's by actually doing. It's the action that really counts, guys. It's just, you gotta think of something, just continue doing it, you know, like, and make it. So I started, like, I think, like reading his books and stuff, and like in one of his books he was saying like how he bought this like really cheap like real estate. I'm thinking, man, so he bought this like cheap real estate, and he was able to like flip it, and sometimes he put renters in it and started making like little extra money and stuff. And so I'm kind of thinking, you know, maybe I could buy something like that. And of course, I already knew about bank foreclosure homes, but how do you buy bank foreclosure homes? Like regular real estate agents, they don't sell bank foreclosure homes. Like, do you need to see a bank? Like, where do you buy it? So when I was actually reading audiobooks, I got a pretty good idea where to buy all this real estate. So I found myself a real estate agent that sold basically these type of homes. And of course I found them through the magazine, through the house that he listed. And actually my wife actually found that house. We both looked at the magazine together. It's just one day we're like, look, we already saved up a little money, let's try to buy our own real estate, guys. And you know, we're thinking, okay, we're living in Charlotte, and we knew we wanted to live in South Carolina because it's cheaper taxes, it's you know, it's cheaper living and stuff. And to me, who cares where I live? I still do expedite, you know. At the end of the day, I'm expedite. That's what I'm doing. I'm not going to Charlotte or some big city for work. I'm delivering usually to big cities, including small cities, small towns and stuff even. And of course I decided to move to the city of Lancaster, you know. And we found this home. Of course my wife found it after we looked at the magazine together, and like, hey, we're like, well, let's go check it out. We checked it out. Of course, you know, we had to call the real estate agent first, and the house was listed for like $26,000, guys. I think it was like $26,500. So it was expensive. We only had like $10,000 saved up, and we thought that's a lot of money, you know. We're like, you know. So basically I told the real estate agent, I'm like, look, are you gonna be shy submitting lowball offers? He's like, no, I don't care. I'm like, okay, can you submit a $10,000 bid for this house? He's like, yeah, I'll drop the paperwork together. You're gonna need to put this money in escrow. I'm like, okay, how can I do this? So he told me I put the $10,000 in the escrow account, and I knew I was not gonna be able to get it for $10,000, guys, but I had to try. I had to get the ball rolling. So I'm thinking, okay, maybe while I'm waiting for this answer, I could go back on a sprint. I'm just gonna work and make more money, and I'm gonna have enough by the time they actually you know, do the co-signing and whatever, or the approvals. You know, I know I'm getting ahead of myself. And so basically that was my start, guys. This is the important part of the story. This is the important part, because nobody thinks this is possible. I was actually told, like, when I wanted to buy for this price, you know what people tell me? Miracles don't happen. That's a miracle. That's not gonna happen. That can't happen. I tried. I've searched. This is why I bought a $100,000 house for cash, like, and like full price for the house, not like a big foreclosure or nothing. So, like, they're making me look like I'm somebody weak. I'm somebody incompetent with $10,000. You know. So here we go. You know, we look at the house, guys. That house was in horrible condition. You know, it was horrible condition. As a matter of fact, it's not even a house. It's actually a double wide, and it's not even completely double wide, because it was kind of like one of the smaller type of double wides, and they made an addition. One thing I could tell you, they did do a good job with the foundation, because I had a nice foundation from brick. Somebody did a good job. Like, they didn't do a sloppy job. It was not cracked or nothing. You know, all plumbing was gone, all electrical was gone, fuse panels were stolen, windows were broken, the door was locking, but the window was broken at the door, so you could just get in the house. Everything out of the house was stolen. No cabinets, no bathrooms, nothing. You get in a shell of a house, guys. And that needed a lot of work. Holes in the floor, holes in the, you know, walls and stuff like that. So yeah, do you want to buy something like this? But here it is. To me, I kind of thought, look, I did construction before. Man, putting up wall partitions is like if it would take me like a couple hours to put up a wall partition, guys, build a 2x4 wall with like using an air gun. I used to work for this one guy. He was my neighbor back in the day when I was actually like a teenager. I started working with him. He's like, learn the trade, mate. This is gonna help you. You know, he was a painter. I worked with him, and we did all kinds of stuff, guys. We built sheds, installed windows, doors, drywall, 2x4s, installation, you name it, guys. So I got a pretty good experience, you know, with that kind of stuff, because I learned from that guy. I've learned from others as well. And I did actually hardwood floors. We didn't do any tile, and we didn't do any crown moldings. But this guy was kind of like a do-it-yourself. He would just do the stuff, and you know, he just go work. And I would go with him. He would, you know, he was a neighbor. I would just get in his van and go, and he would tell me, Serge, where was you all my life? Where were you? He said, you know what kind of people I'm getting to work for me? I send them to a truck to get this tool, and they're like, where? I can't find it. Or they bring me some